Hi, I'm Rhiannon Faith, and I'm here to tell you a story. Today's a little different, and not so much a story, I guess, but a series of little points or nuggets of wisdom, things that I really resonate with and apply in my life. And so I just want to share them. If you have been around me for any amount of time, you've probably heard me say one or more of these things, and hopefully you've seen me live them, I guess more importantly than saying them. So the first is something that it's kind of funny, but I saw in a movie, Al Franken, many years ago. The movie totally escapes me. Maybe it'll come back to me. In any event, his dad is an alcoholic. His brother is a pothead. His family's kind of a disaster. Mom is codependent. It's a whole nightmare, the family. But Stuart saves his family. That's the name of the movie. Oh my gosh. Anyways, it's his character from SNL, and they made a movie of it, and probably 10 people saw it. I was one of them. The day that I saw it with one of my best friends, we were in the theater, and then another 2 people were in the theater. There were 4 of us in total, a normal-sized theater. It was pretty abandoned. In any event, the movie is amazing. Super weird and uncomfortable, unless, like me, you grew up going to Alateen and Al-Anon meetings because your parents were going to AA. So a lot of the vernacular was familiar, and the story was tragically relatable. So anyhow, in the movie, he has his little television show on public access television, and he has this little saying, I'm good. He looks in the mirror, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. But one of the other sayings that he uses, and so that first one is somewhat immaterial, but maybe you recognize the SNL skit. He says, "It's easier to put on slippers than carpet the world." And that's a small thing. I saw this movie more than 20 years ago. It stood out to me because what it really is saying is it's not my responsibility to change everyone around me. I need to make the changes for myself. And so when I'm frustrated with a situation, I'm reminded that I have a choice to be in the situation and to manage my behavior and perception of the situation. And so it's easier to put on slippers to protect myself as I feel is necessary than it is for me to expect everyone else to protect me and or create an environment where I am fully protected. I just need to manage myself. And so I love that, and I've shared that with my kids and friends, and so I'm sharing it with you. It's easier to put on slippers than carpet the world, okay? So put on your slippers. Stop worrying about carpeting the world. Not everything else is going to change on your account, and that's okay, but you can put on your slippers and have the carpeted world that you're desiring, all right? So, be the change, participate, but don't expect that everyone else is going to be different because you want to be different. Allow them to be who they are, and you take measures to protect yourself as you feel is appropriate. The other one, so when I was in college, which was for a long time, I went to school for, ever. I love school so much. I love learning. It's one of my favorite things. So one of my classes, it was a weight training class. And I always thought that was kind of a handy way to get in mandatory exercise. I didn't really have to take the class anymore, or I didn't need any of those phys ed things. But I liked that it was an opportunity to build it into my schedule, which meant I would do it. So anyways, in this weight training class, interestingly enough, the gal who was our teacher, and trainer, she had been a recovering addict. And so one of the things, so again, this sort of theme of wisdom with somebody who has learned how to overcome and looked for implementing strategies to manage their life differently to prevent themselves from being overwhelmed and maybe making another bad decision or a decision inconsistent with who they want to be. And so her strategy was HALT. So she explained that you find yourself in a predicament of bad decision making when you find yourself too hungry, H, angry, A, lonely, L, tired, T. So HALT, H.A.L.T. And so if you find yourself in that situation, don't make critical decisions because your decision making is compromised by your basic need not being met. So if you're hungry, eat something. If you're angry, take a lap. If you're lonely, reach out to someone. If you're tired, sleep. So it sounds so simple, but sometimes our needs are in fact simple, and we complicate them by trying to move past whatever that momentary need is. Or, you're hungry, instead of eating something, you go to take a nap. Or you're angry, and instead of managing that emotion and getting to the root of that, or taking a lap or whatever, you eat something. And so a lot of those poor behavioral patterns are kind of bred from actions that we took that didn't satisfy the underlying need. And so I certainly have seen this in my own life. And so I'm reminded of that and its value. And so I honestly think this woman, I loved that she was living this and sharing it with us. And I remember that there were some kids in the class, and I mean, we weren't necessarily kids, we were all adults, but some people in the class that were kind of, joking about and mocking a bit her sharing of this. And I thought, my gosh, write this down. And so I did. I actually wrote it down, and I've referred back to it, and this too, more than 20 years ago. I love that advice. It's so sound and wise. I need to take it more often, honestly, but sharing it with you, maybe you'll benefit from it. And the last bit I want to share with you, so this will be kind of short, but is, again, that reminder that we manage our own perspective. Okay. So I find, situations happen around us all the time. It just is what it is. And not all of them are within our control. And oftentimes they involve the interactions with other people. And I think a lot of times folks get trapped in the notion that someone else has a perspective that maybe they don't have. And what I find is that, assuming positive intent, that the individual that I'm interacting with does not wish me ill will, is not out to get me, is not conniving or unkind or any of those things. Assuming positive intent makes a world of difference about how I respond to a situation. So if someone, let's say someone cuts me off, am I annoyed? For sure. Okay. I'm not pretending here. But I'm going to stop myself from getting overly agitated, and I'm going to think, maybe they're in a hurry, maybe they just got bad news, maybe they're distracted, because you know what? I've been all of those things too. And trying to be, and that's a sort of a silly example, but as a leader of people, many times over, I have been in a position where someone is chronically calling out, is putting a challenge on the team. It's frustrating for the other team members. It's frustrating for me, particularly if I can't personally bridge that gap of the loss of the person who's not present. And so, it's easy. I've watched that person's colleagues will often go to that dark place of, what a jerk. They don't care about any of us. They're just continuing to call out, when possibly that person is really struggling with something. Whether it be illness or personal situation, it changed their general response of being dedicated and loyal and consistent to unreliable and a little bit guarded. And so rather than heap on the assumption that that person is doing something wrong on purpose to be unkind to everyone and really, wreck over the team, looking at it from a positive intention that this person must have something going on if they're behaving this way, because this is uncharacteristic, or even if this is a pattern of behavior. And so this is the part that's really kind of interesting. And I'm glad I've come to this place. But even when I've interacted with someone who has more than adequately demonstrated that they are not a nice person, they are really doing shady things with the objective of trying to hurt or injure or create conflict or chaos for someone else, my initial read of the situation is always, I aim to be accurate and honest with myself about what's going on, but I choose to respond under the assumption of positive intent. And so, I can't always control how I perceive a situation, but I can control how I respond to it. And I choose to respond rather than react in most situations. Again, I'm by no means perfect, but this is something I've really cultivated and worked on over a number of years to try and pull myself away from a situation enough to see that there might be more to it. And the thing of it is, because I've had feedback from others like, that's ridiculous. And you know that person is really trying to win over or do something that's ridiculous, as I call them, shenanigans. They're shenaniganators, because I can conjugate shenanigans in a lot of different ways. And I use that word frequently. I love when I hear other people say it. In any event, if someone's up to shenanigans, I know that that's what's going on, but I'm not going to respond in that way because as though I'm irritated, annoyed, or I'm going to catch you doing something wrong. I'm going to give them grace, and I'm going to choose instead to focus on offering positive, the assumption of positive intent, that because in that setting, I won't feel bad. I'll never feel bad giving somebody more kindness, grace, mercy, or peaceability than they gave me. I will, however, I know for myself, I'll feel not great if I came at someone swinging, not physically, metaphorically, coming out guns blazing, ready to make it a confrontation. When someone's in a bad mood or aggressive, it's not that I don't know how to respond in that situation to tit for tat with them. I could go there. I just choose not to because I feel like something else is going on, and about 95% of the time, it has nothing to do with me or the first initial person that they're interacting with, especially if it's a stranger. Something else is going on in that person's life. So I'm going to be kind and gracious and merciful and try to diffuse the situation, and because I'm not going to take offense to it through the assumption of positive intent. This person is having a bad whatever, moment, day, life, I don't know, but I'm not going to make it worse by participating in that. I'm going to meet them with kindness. I'm going to keep myself in a position to assume positive intent, and I'm going to walk away from it then feeling free and light and satisfied that I showed up well, and maybe, possibly, I left that person better than I found them, because I feel like that is, again, one of those rare things that we get to choose, and we have a choice. I can come into a situation, I can meet you in your chaos, or I can say, you know what, you got enough going on. I'm going to rise above that. I'm not going to participate. And I'm not saying this in a condescending way, check me out, I figured out life. I have not even remotely. Such a work in progress. But I want to share this because I have watched people who have implemented it reluctantly and have felt differently, and have shared back that they felt differently in these situations that used to really get them heated. And, we are who we are. I am a byproduct of a lot of different exposure and environments of chaos and turmoil and emotional upheaval. And so I'm a little bit more aware of how my responses might positively or negatively impact a situation. And if you've never been there, awesome. That's so rad for you. But in case you find yourself in that situation, interacting with people, maybe this will help you. Assume positive intent, okay? It does make a difference. You leave the situation feeling fine. I never feel like I've been taken advantage of, or, that person onced over me. It's not about me and them. It's about where they're at in their journey of life, and I'm left an open door to have new dialogue or new conversation with them in the future, because I've not burnt that bridge with, again, meeting them in their chaos. I didn't need to do it. And so, you don't have to either. I encourage you not to. In any event, if you enjoyed this, please like and follow, and come back again. I'll tell you another story. Thanks.